Miyamoto woke up from his nap and just started running.
And we can predict the future. Hold on while I buy some lottery tickets. Prim Valley Lotto Store.
We were hoping for Bethesda Girl, but all we got was Sony's Slow Clapper.
And why Sony is turning its back on technology that once saved its skin.
I'm Sam Chen.
And I'm Paul Mooney.
All this and more lost viewers than No Man's Sky has on Twitch. Stick around, you're watching the Nerdy News Roundup.
We begin this show with a cautionary be careful what you wish for PSA. Last week we talked about a clash between Riot and Andy Din, owner and CEO of Team SoloMid, over player compensation. This week it seems like the owner is putting his money where his mouth is, as a group of 7 esports teams are forming a new group called Professional Esports Association, or P for short. This group will launch the CSGO League early next year, which will consist of a 10-week season with a tournament prize pool of $1 million. More importantly, players will be receiving a 50% share of the profits, benefits, and retirement package, and health insurance. Sam, it seems like Reggie took our advice from last week. Is it time for us to cash in at the craps table?
Put it all on black.
All
Wait,
on black.
That's the wrong game. That's the wrong game.
Not right at all.
So I think this is an inevitable evolution of esports. I think you aren't going to see like a pro football team ever go this way, but I think esports could live this way. Because at the end of the day, the thing that people care about most in esports is probably the teams and the players.
Right.
And so having team-run leagues might be an interesting thing because it's not, right now, you have either developer-run leagues, you have a couple of associations that put together some things, but there's no real clear reason why one person needs to do this over another. So I think this might be great if it keeps things moving. The only thing that I see that could be a problem with this is if they end up being more restrictive and making it harder for new teams and new entrants to come into professional esports.
That's true, yeah. If that barrier to entry is really going to be kind of a sticking, or could potentially be a sticking point to it in the future, I think. But yeah, this does seem like something that would naturally evolve. Again, I think one of the main differences between NFL and any other professional sport is, e-gamers probably aren't going to suffer the same kind of injuries, so their careers are probably going to can potentially last a little bit longer. So,
well, except for the fact that your reaction time is something completely different, right? I've heard that for LoL, 24 is the oldest you can get.
Really? What statistics are backing this up? What studies have been done? That's why all I'm saying is there's at least the potential for that to last longer. I mean, your reaction time may go down, that's true. But honestly, if you're practicing enough and you don't suffer significant eye strain or blindness, you can potentially pay for a longer time, depending on what your dedication is like. You don't really have that same luxury, but you're going to get injured in a physical sport.
Yeah.
But what you were saying is, I think, far more important. Having other people come in then becomes an issue. If you do have that longevity with your players, and you have other teams come up with it who may not have either the resources or the clout to break into it, how is that going to affect their ability to then garner money down the line?
Yeah, and I think this is also interesting because they're putting their bet right now on CSGO.
True.
Let's wait until they put something that hasn't kind of slowly been dying off since betting went away.
I'm starting to think that's actually a good idea because now that the atmosphere for it is relatively subdued, maybe it might inject some life back into it. And if it doesn't work, they can say, it was a dying franchise and maybe we should just try something else. Maybe it kind of gives them an out in those sort of ways.
Our favorite movie studio, Ubisoft, is actually in the news for something gaming related. Rainbow Six Siege launched to lackluster reviews last year and a generally meh reception from the gaming community. The game saw new life as dedicated fans kept the game alive to the point that they're releasing a second season pass for the game. While this isn't unprecedented, when Turtle Rock announced a second season pass for Evolve last year, fans were less than enthusiastic. Paul, are second season passes going to be a thing in gaming, or is Rainbow Six Siege just special?
I think Rainbow Siege may be special in this case. I personally didn't play that much Rainbow Six Siege myself. I do know people, and I have seen streamers who do enjoy it. So I can see it's a thing for them, and it's not. I think the difference between that game and Evolve is significant enough with specifically with the content they have or they're offering, where it's not as much of an outrage type situation.
Right. I mean, Rainbow Six Siege or Ubisoft pretty much said it's more cosmetic things, right? You're going to get access to characters a little bit before other people. You get skins, weapon mod, whatever. Like, it's not something that's really trying to change the gameplay experience. They basically committed to the fact that as new maps come out, you're still going to be able to play them for free even if you haven't thrown money at it. So I think in one sense it's different. But in another sense, like, I think it's just the same thing with another name, right? If you look at Destiny's pretty much had a couple of season passes, right? But instead of a season pass, they called it a game, or they called it an expansion, right? Like, so in one sense, I can see that there's an outrage because it's like, well, I bought this season pass, but I didn't get all of the content.
Yeah.
But in another sense, games have already been doing that to you. They just call it something different.
Right. Yeah. It's the season pass. Like, unless we have like a concrete definition for what a gaming season will be, and that will never happen across multiple games. So I think season pass is just a kind of a flashy name for this. We're just going to give you a break on this next set of however many items we're going to give you previously. So it's just a bundle package. You save a little bit of money at the end of the day if you're dedicated enough. If not,
Yeah, and I think as long as Rainbow Six Siege survives, this is actually a great thing for them, right? Because they're essentially developing the game to a set of users who just really love the game. And as long as there's a good balance of people sticking around to play it, they'll keep producing content and the cycle will continue. Yeah. So what's wrong with that?
For those of you who weren't paying attention to the live streams on Wednesday, there was a Sony conference, and then there was an AppleMoto conference. A new iPhone was announced, but the biggest gaming news out of the conference was Shigeru Miyamoto taking the stage to announce Nintendo's newest foray into mobile gaming. Everyone's favorite plumber is coming to iOS in December in the form of Super Mario Run. Sam, we mentioned it might be time for Miyamoto to take a nap. Is this what a refreshed gaming developer can do, or is it time for him to hit the snooze button again?
So I think even though a lot of people were quick to be like, why didn't they just give us Mario? Why did they give us an endless runner? Blah, 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 blah. I think they were just quick to jump to conclusions. I think this is actually a great move on the part of Miyamoto and really shows what Nintendo is actually thinking about when it comes to mobile gaming. This game isn't like Temple Run or anything like that. There are actually levels. It's just a form that lets you play one-handed, right? And to me, that's their statement. They're like, we want to create a Mario game. We wanted it to be easy to play on mobile, which means one-handed play. We wanted it to be unique and have some interactive features with your friends. That's what they delivered on. Only time will tell, what the pricing is going to be for the game and things like that. But I think this is a brilliant move and might end up being the start of many mobile successes that Nintendo is going to have of actual games on mobile market and not just like Miitomo.
That's true. And I also think this is a good example of why Nintendo likes to control its IPs as much as it does, because now they can develop a mobile platform game the way they want to, and they can expand on them the way they want to. So in terms of them delivering an experience that they expect for the crowd that's going to be receiving it, and not just having some 8-bit or 2-bit like knockoff made by someone else, which is kind of what they're talking about, where they're making sure they're closing down all the fan-made games. I think this is a good, or probably one of the most pronounced reasons as to why they were doing that.
And let's talk a little bit about essentially like some of the business structure in the background of this, right? They're not saying they're coming to market with a free-to-play game that has a ton of like add-ons and patches and in-app purchases, right? They're saying, you know what? We're going to deliver you a game. We'll enhance it later. We'll give you models. But for the most part, they basically said, we're going to charge you one price for it. We didn't tell you what the price was. As long as it's under like $10 or $5, I think it'll be viable. But they're not also departing too much from their like practice. They're saying, all right, we know people like buying our games and being able to play them. We know they want some interactivity. And we know that for mobile, one-handed gaming actually does seem like an important thing. We're going to deliver on those right now. Mm-hmm.
Which is good.
We'll see what the next one
That's good. Like that kind of slow rollout type of deal is kind of what you need to do when you're starting a new or emerging market like that. And I think this is probably a good step in the right direction for Nintendo.
Yeah, if anyone's got enough clout to get a mobile game where people are going to pay for without having a free-to-play version, it's Nintendo. And if they can start showing what they can do with real IPs in that and start being able to charge like $14, $15 the way Square does for their old Final Fantasy games, there's a life in it for them. If you thought all the Sony news this week was going to be about the PS4 Slim and the PS4 Neo/Pro, then you were wrong. When Fallout 4 was announced, the prospect of full mod support on consoles was a much anticipated feature that Bethesda said it would roll out. But after getting the Xbox One version up and running, the developer announced that it was giving up the battle to implement mod support on PS4, not only for Fallout 4, but also for Skyrim Special Edition. Bethesda was quick to clarify that the decision was ultimately made by Sony, which informed them that they will not approve user mods to work the way that they should. Paul, Microsoft was quick to shame Sony in tweets. Are we going to start seeing Mac versus PC commercials for Xbox versus PS4?
We already see those, don't we? so I have one form or another.
Here's how you share a game on PS4.
Yeah, no, it's already been done. And of course, Microsoft's going to shame them in tweets. Anytime they can take shots at the person who's beating them out numbers-wise, they're definitely going to do that. Which, I mean, who wouldn't? This is Sony just again controlling their environment. Remember last year when that person routed the PS3 and they were like up in arms trying to get people get control of that. I feel like this is that to a lesser degree. This is just them saying we don't want too much outside content coming into our platforms where it's, something may be deemed inappropriate, and we could end up in a shitstorm that way. So we're just kind of nip this in the bud from the start.
Yeah, I mean, I think this kind of sucks because it was something that people anticipated. People were really excited because no one had mod support before, and a lot of people didn't understand how it worked, and were kind of excited to see that it was coming. So it was really disappointing to see that Sony wasn't really going to do it. But you're right. I mean, it is Sony's attempt to essentially be Apple, right? Like, yeah. I'm going to control my environment. I'm going to make you play the games the way I want you to play the games. And for the most part, on the console market, that probably does fly. I don't know if they're going to lose a lot of people because I don't know how many, a ton of people who are, really making a decision between a PS4 version and Xbox One version. And the people who are probably going to get Xbox One anyway, because if, the smart money is going to be on the system where later on I can switch to PC and it's fine. So ultimately, it may not be a big deal, but kind of disappointing.
It's definitely disappointing. I will say that because I've seen some of the cool mods for Fallout via numerous YouTube streams. And it's even the ones that were just the Boston Red Sox jerseys and stuff like that, where you have people's names and stuff. That was cool looking. And to think you could kind of I don't know, I could have one of my colonists be the Dallas Cowboys. I could have them all be football players or something or. I hate to reuse recycle sports again, but still, I mean, just gearing it towards something that you enjoy through mods, I think that's kind of extends the creativity, and especially in this Fallout, which is basically The Sims with guns, where you're just building stuff all the time, and you're expanding your colonies to do different things all the time. I think the mod support would have kind of accentuated those facts or those capabilities anyway. So
yeah, I mean, I'd like to see Sony make a little bit of movement into the environment of essentially user-generated thing. I'll tell you one thing that I really wish I had a Wii U for is Super Mario Maker.
Yeah.
I see that stuff online all the time. It looks like it would be an endless amount of fun to just go around, play different games. Might even put myself in a position to create a level. I probably won't, but it's endless content.
Yeah.
Why not?
Exactly. Anytime you get a chance to expand your creativity, the whole Minecraft experience. I mean, I think that always ends up being a good thing. It's time for a break where we try to pay the bills and see if Mario stopped running.
When we come back, Sony held a PlayStation meeting where about a total of 5 people were clapping. Did the PlayStation presenters just put everyone to sleep? Stay tuned, you're watching the Nerdy News Roundup. This week's sponsor we wish we had is Professional Esports Association. Do you need pitchmen who can predict the future and spin any online argument your way? Then the law/PR firm of Mooney & Chen are the right company for you. We believe that players should be fairly compensated and anything else you tell us to believe in. So if you know anyone at P, tell them we sent you and beg them to give us some money or just put us on retainer when Riot or Valve come a-knockin'. And for our main story tonight, Sony, that company that tries to sell you an overpriced 4K HDR television, but realizes it's better at selling a video game console you actually enjoy. Sony held a PlayStation meeting this week announcing 2 new members of the current PS4 console generation, the PS4 Slim and the PS4 Pro. Priced at $299 and $399 respectively, the consoles are proof that even game companies sit on a lead when the time is right. With no spec upgrade to accompany the price drop on the Slim, and the PS4 Pro bringing 4K HDR support to whatever games developers choose to support, the gaming news media has been flooded with stories about how apathetic everyone except Microsoft is about this conference. Paul, is this a brilliant competitive move on behalf of Sony, or are Kaz Hirai and Andrew House just asleep at the wheel?
Sleeping at the wheel. Something Sony probably doesn't do that much, to be honest, at this point. I think it's a good move. I don't know about brilliant. Right? But they're just showing what they were promised to deliver these things in the first place. Like they were saying before, when the Neo comes out, when the VR comes out, we're going to have an upgraded PS4 to help better that experience. That seems to be what the Pro is, because it's too much more powerful than the standard PS4. And the Slim model, the Slim models always come out after a couple of years of consoles in their console lifestyle, just more compact version of the original one, so save some space.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing about this, I think, is that the Slim model's coming out. There's no spec upgrade, but there is a price drop.
Yeah.
Right? So they're bringing it down to $299. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting it to replace the base model PS4. So I think that's a pretty interesting move as they want to get a little bit more players into the market, because it's just going to be cheaper and it's going to be more affordable. And you're going to go to the new SKU probably, because GameStop can only discount the old one so much before they're not making money, right? So in one sense, I think they are definitely sitting and cushioning on the lead, but I think they're almost at the point where they're saying, you know what, we're gonna give the gamers what we promised them.
Yeah.
And that's it. We're not gonna overpromise, we're not gonna oversell, we're not gonna overhype. Here is a better gaming experience for you. But if you don't want that, if you don't want to spend the extra money, you don't have to. We're not going to handcuff you the way Xbox seems to be trying to do with saying, you know what, we're pushing a mid-console upgrade because we're losing. They're just saying, you know what, you want some better gaming? Great. If you don't, your old console's good enough.
Right. No, I think Sony's been very consistent about what they've been promising and delivering from the get-go. When the PS4 launched, they said, all right, this is going to be completely gamer-focused. We're going to do everything we can to help gamers and indie developers make these games better. Sure enough, like however many years later, that's what we've gotten. Like, I think the gaming experience that Sony's delivered has been, I'm not going to say not stellar compared to that of the Xbox One, but it has been more gamer-centric.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, of just furthering that statement. They told us what they were going to do to help you get a slightly better gaming experience, but they're not taking away from the gaming experience that people already had. So I think it's overall a good move.
Yeah, I mean, like, let's fast forward 1 year from now, and let's say Xbox Scorpio comes out, or it gets announced at like a $1,500 price point. Then game journalists are going to be shitting over themselves, saying, "Oh, we were wrong when we were criticizing the PS4 at $400. This is a completely dick move now." Like,
you don't know journalists very well.
Yeah.
They're going to bury that like no.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, yeah, I get it. Like, they're trying to make essentially non-news news, and they need to go forward with that. But there is something to be said about the idea that, you know, how much forward are we really going to need to push in a console generation before it really is a new one, right? Like, I think the fact that they've chosen to include some technology and not new technology in others is fine. I mean, Xbox has to throw a Hail Mary.
Yeah,
right?
They do. They're behind. That's what you do when you're behind. You gotta swing for the fences. You gotta go for the end zone. So the hypothetical Scorpio necessity. They're already winning. Sony is already in the lead. Like, all they need to do now is stick to their game plan and not blow it by coming up with something that's going to cost an arm and a leg that nobody really asked for in the first place. But like, they've already got VR, and now they're saying, oh, this will help optimize that VR setting.
Yeah.
But you can still use the VR in the regular PlayStation as it stands. So
I mean, honestly, like, my first reaction after watching the conference was, all right, let's see if I can pick up a cheap 40 to 50 inch 4K HDR display, and then I'm probably going to get the Pro in a couple of months when it comes out in November, and I'll sell my PS4, right? So, like, I'll pay a couple $100s to do the upgrade on that. I'll pay $400 to $500 to do an upgrade on a television, like a smaller television, not the one that's going to be in my home theater setup. That was my initial reaction.
Yeah,
and this is coming from someone who's been pretty solid on saying my next real upgrade is going to be to a PC.
right.
So I feel like they did that. I don't care about the Scorpio, because if my next upgrade to the PS or to a PC, I don't need a Scorpio.
You don't.
Not the way Microsoft is pitching it.
Right, this is a true story.
Chances are that's what they want anyway.
Right?
All right, Mike, I'm going to give you what you want, Microsoft.
Yeah, we're going to go PC.
You got it. You got it, buddy.
Nerdy_Nights on PC from now on for Microsoft products only. It seems sensible.
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably going to keep a console for console exclusives. I mean, we don't know yet if Destiny 2 is going to come on PC.
Yeah, it's still speculation.
Right. Come on, Bungie. You can do it.
You
can do it. You know you like Microsoft.
You developed for 4 consoles in the past, 2 consoles in the PC. Seems
or
like...
just 2 consoles, because if you do it right for the PC, it's already on Xbox.
Oh, yeah, just 1 console. You're almost
yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty good business move, really. I think they're going to sell consoles. They're going to remain profitable for anything that they sell. They're not rocking the boat. And until Xbox really proves that there's something for Sony to really be afraid of, I think, why rock the boat?
No. And I mean, I think the whole thing is like, this isn't like the most glamorous of releases, but I think it's the timing for it is right. It's just before holiday season, and it still keeps that whole theme of consistency there. So sure, it wasn't like, the most groundbreaking thing ever, which is what I think people come to expect from these conferences. But I think it was a smart move in the right direction, and it did everything that Sony needed to do. It's not going to, change the world or anything like that, but it's smart business sense.
I mean, let's just back up to the last console generation. Like 360 had a substantial lead, being ahead of the market for about a year. Doesn't matter that the PS3 came out and was better technology, all of that. It took them years to catch up to come to parity, right? And that's why we didn't even see PlayStation Plus be a multiplayer requirement, because they needed the market share. And if it was one other thing that was going to set them apart, they were going to bank on that.
Right.
Now the roles are reversed. PlayStation can come to market with something new and improved, but not stellar. Even if the Scorpio is great, even if the Scorpio comes in at $1,000, was that 1 year sacrifice really worth it?
Not really.
I don't know.
Well, we have to go back to the point where, honestly, Microsoft with the current Xboxes or Xbox Ones really cannot beat Sony with the standard PS4. So they have to do something in that regard, which is what the Scorpio is. Even though I still think the Scorpio is
a figment of your imagination.
It's a unicorn or whatever. It's not really a real thing, but I see what they're driving at. They want to promise something, which makes sense because they can't win with what they have now.
Yep.
If you cannot beat them with what you are currently running with, which is, what are they? It's still like a third of Sony sales for PS4s. They have to do something. So down the line. So I think Microsoft is playing to their strength, and in turn, Sony is playing to their strength. We're already winning. Let's not shake things up too much because we have a good thing going, but we can expand on our lead and bring more products to market that people are willing to purchase, because it's not going to be outrageously high, and it's going to develop or continue giving the gamers what they want, a consistently good gaming experience for the foreseeable future. Smart move. I don't see any problems with it.
Do you think Sony is being super strategic or just plain stupid? Let us know if you're picking up one of these consoles in the comments below. Can't get enough of nerd culture? Then check out all the great content we have on the Nerdy Nights YouTube channel. Join me and Eric on Couch Co-op Confidential as we stream couch co-op games. Currently, we're making our way through Diablo 2 Path of Exile Edition, where color-coded sockets are more than a wrench enthusiast's OCD dream. Mike and I have picked up the Stick of Truth and are saving South Park from the Drow Elves. Check out Let's Play Podcast for a whole new way to Let's Play. And don't forget to check out our Twitch channel, Nerdy_Nights, where we have Taco Tuesdays, Telltale Thursdays, and even a late-night call-in radio show. Click the links below for all this great content and more.
Can't get enough Sony news? Then you're in luck. We have a special edition of our Lightning Round this week where we answer the age-old question, does this Sony news matter? More pixels is always better. Hashtag 8K is the new 4K. The PlayStation 4 Pro will be provided a significant boost to PSVR experience, doubling the pixels and at least tripling the immersion. Sam, how do you double the pixels without actually improving the hardware?
You just tell them that there's more pixels. That's all you need to do.
It's a brilliant strategy.
So when I was kind of looking at the news, there wasn't a lot about this doubling of the pixel thing. I don't think Game journalists have really dove in. Here's my guess. My guess is what happens with the PSVR right now is that they render at a lower resolution and then they just upscale to the native resolution on the display. Now with the PS4 Pro, they're just going to render at the native resolution or the full resolution of the glasses, providing a better experience. So I think this does matter because what they're really trying to do is make it so and this is kind of what I was talking with our friend Mike about in the past, was I don't want to be screwed as a first generation adopter of the PS4.
Yeah, I don't think anyone
right? Like PS4 is in the lead because I and a bunch of other people bought their console. So if you're going to tell me I need to shell out $800 more to get PSVR and a good experience, fuck you, right? But they're not. They're saying if you want it, go ahead. If not, it'll still be good.
Right.
Still be good.
It just won't be the best of the best. But for the best of the best, you got to pay a little bit more money.
Yeah.
It seems sensible to me. Like that's why the PS4 Pro was brought into existence. So it matters, but I don't think it's going to be devastating. It definitely matters that like this is the technology they're going to use to get you that VR experience that you want. But I don't think it's going to be a killer for you if you own a regular PS4 and you want to buy the VR.
I think the important part here is you look back to what PlayStation said basically in March, and they said, look, if you're a game developer who wants to develop for PSVR, you're going to give us at least 60 per second. That's it. If you don't even try this 55 bullshit, give us 60 or your game's not approved. And so it's the same move here, right? It's like, all right, well, so if you were cheating to get the 60 by downsampling, right, which is fine. I mean, a lot of people won't notice the difference. PS Pro, top of the line, full render, 60 FPS.
Yeah, for the gaming enthusiasts, for the super gaming enthusiasts. I get it. Makes perfect sense to me.
4K might be the future, but is Blu Ray a thing of the past? Despite Microsoft and Sony both betting big on 4K in the current upgrade cycle, only Microsoft will be bringing you 4K Blu Ray support in their respective black boxes. Paul, is Sony turning its back on the technology that kept them afloat in the last console generation?
I don't think so. I think they still have Blu-ray players out there. Just, again, gamer-centric. I think what the gaming experience they're already delivering with the PlayStation now doesn't really require Blu-ray. And plus, it's probably something that's going to keep the cost a little bit lower. Maybe not a significant amount, but at least a little bit. So.
Yeah. I agree. I think this doesn't matter because at the end of the day, the market of people who are really buying 4K Blu-ray, Blu-rays is just not a lot. People are shifting towards streaming. People are shifting towards all the different things that still give them 4K without actually having a physical disc.
True.
Right? I don't think Sony is going to be sacrificing the game experience by doing this. And it's really just Microsoft trying to make hay over something that they have that Sony doesn't.
Yeah, anytime Microsoft can point out an area where they're ahead of Sony in something, they're going to do it. Doesn't matter if it's important or not. They're just going to say, hey, we got that. Come on to the Microsoft side of things.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think chances are, if you care enough about gaming to be investing in one of these consoles, you're probably ahead of the curve enough to not care about getting a physical copy on disc of a movie.
I don't think I bought a copy of anything physical in the last 2 years, to be honest. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I bought my copy of Destiny from you, which is literally the last physical game I ever bought, to be honest.
Victory!
I mean, the only thing I can think of where this would actually be significant is if, like, when I first played Mad Max, I rented that game from Redbox because I wasn't sure I wanted to buy it. Because, it came out at $60. I'd only seen some video on it. There weren't that many reviews. So I rented it from Redbox for, it was like $5. So I guess if somewhere down the line, Blu-ray 4K games are like that, where, I have to, like, now have this thing to demo a game. But that's such a rare case. And by that time down the line, I don't think we'll have CDs at all. I think they'll just be completely gone. We'll be like vinyl records, basically. It seems like Fox wasn't the only company with someone named House who could sleuth out a solution. Who needs House MD when Sony has Andrew House, CEO? The Sony Interactive chief commented to The Guardian that part of the PS4 Pro strategy was to get ahead of gamers who might turn to PC in order to get upgraded graphics. Sam, will House's strategy save the day before the patient, console, flatlines?
Okay, I mean, so this matters because it's a head of Sony's Interactive division saying we have our eyes on the PC market. For everything else, I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
And I think in all likelihood, what they're basically saying is people who want an enhanced experience, better graphics, all this other stuff, who are looking to move to PC, maybe we can appease them with the PS4 Pro. I think if you're likely to take that plunge for a couple $100 more than what a PS4 Pro is, you're going to take that plunge. You don't care.
No.
So in that sense, whatever.
No, I don't think it matters either. Other than, going after the PC market. I don't think this is the right way to go after the PC market if you're Sony. Just bring out another console. Like, that's not what PC gamers are about. They don't want the restrictedness of consoles. They want to have that flexibility where they put in the money for the experience they specifically want on PC, and they don't want to have to go back and then buy a console and then every couple of years upgrade it over and over and over again. They don't like that cycle. So by bringing out, you like PCs, here's a console. That doesn't really jive.
Right.
It doesn't seem to make any sense to me.
I mean, I think in all likelihood, if we start seeing ads from Sony that are basically like, here's how much it costs to play VR on a PC, and it's like $1,500.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how much it costs to play it on a PlayStation, and it's like 900.
800.
Yeah, you get the game, you get the PS4. That might be a decent strategy to convince someone who's VR curious, essentially. But yeah, I mean, a true PC, they certainly aren't targeting PC gamers, because you're never going to convince someone like our producer Eric to be like, all right, I'm just going to go and get a PS4 Pro instead of this PC I've got. He's never going to do that.
That kind of starts, it doesn't make any sense. It just starts kind of decision for that kind of thing doesn't exist. Like, if you're a PC gamer, or even if you're like a gamer who's on consoles, just kind of done with consoles, and you're playing a move to PC, this isn't going to be the thing that convinces you to stop, because this is kind of more of the same. Yeah. I do think the PS4 Pro is nice, but that's not, if I am thinking of making the purchase consciously to PC, I'm probably not just thinking about just gaming either. I'm probably thinking about all other inclusive things I can do on a PC that just simply aren't possible with a console.
Tim Allen's solution on home improvement was always more power. And Sony's plan is more power, but the same frame rate, same controller, even lag will be identical. While single-player experiences can be better on the Pro, multiplayer experience must be the same no matter what the letters are behind your PS4 logo. Paul, competitive console gamers breathe a sigh of relief? Wait. Let's celebrate the fact that I got through that sentence without laughing at the term competitive console gamer.
Oh man, I could see some YouTubers getting mad about that one. Woo! I mean, this seems like it should be kind of a no-brainer. Like, it shouldn't matter, especially on the console platform where you're playing someone else in multiplayer. Everything has to be kind of the same format. I think that should have gone without saying overall. So,
yeah, I think it matters because it's back to exactly your point about gamer-centric strategy, right? Like, as a first-generation PS4 supporter, I don't want to be missing out. I don't want to feel like I need to upgrade or I'm not going to be able to play my games anymore. Yeah. So by making this move and explicitly making the move and just telling developers, look, we're going to give you a little bit more power, but just focus on the core experience, right? Like, these incremental upgrades won't be too hard for you to do with patching and things. Like, let's just keep the experience the same, cap your frame rates, do whatever you need to do, but give people the experience on no matter what console they play.
Exactly. No, I think it's just more of an assurance of anything else, which is good. Greed is good, unless you're a console gamer who's getting screwed out of features behind a paywall. Luckily, PS4 Pro won't be doing that to you. Multiple reports confirm that PS4 Pro features such as HDR and 4K will be free, and developers will not be allowed to charge you for patches for future updates. Sam, I obviously had to think about this one before I said it out loud. Is Sony actually being reasonable?
I think they're being perfectly reasonable with this. I think this is back to the days where Apple was trying to tell you, like, we have to charge you for an iOS update because that's how, like, the marketplace works and everything else. Mm-hmm. And then eventually they got away from that. So I think this does matter in a really roundabout way because Sony's basically saying, look, we know we don't want to screw you over. You're already getting a new enhanced console. Like, you're buying our product. Like, we're not gonna charge you more. In all likelihood, they're probably also saying to developers, like, push this update out and we won't charge you for the update, or we'll give you 3 free updates in the future where you won't have to, pay us to push it out into the store. So I think this is just Sony, once again, making sure they don't get bad press for doing something wrong.
Yeah.
Like, there's one thing about not living up to hype expectations and another thing about missing base level expectations.
Yeah, no, they're again just making statements, making sure that people understand where they're coming from and what's not going to happen in the future. So, if you stay quiet about it, then that's when the rumor mill starts.
The battle between David and Goliath usually ends with the little guy taking down the giant. The problem with the latest set of console updates is we don't know whether Sony or Microsoft is David. There has been a lot of back and forth this week with Microsoft calling out Sony for making a pro console that's teraflops behind their upcoming Scorpio. Paul, I thought teraflops were just something you did in the pool when zombies were chasing you. Well, how will the power of GPUs play into this console war?
Well, I don't know what the power, how this console war is going to play out because I don't know what a Scorpio is.
About 3 pounds.
I keep on hearing about what it's supposed to be doing, but I don't know what the specs are. And Microsoft is very clear that they're not going to tell anyone what the specs are.
Except for teraflops.
Yes.
We got 6 of them, guys.
Honestly, at this point, even if Microsoft said, "Oh, this is actual Scorpio footage," I would just assume it's some PC they have rigged up to a screen, and they're just playing it off of that.
And they're setting it to 6 teraflops.
Exactly. It's 6 teraflops. It's right there in the corner. I don't know what the Scorpio is. The frustration I'm having from the lack of transparency on Microsoft is beyond staggering at this point. And it's not like they have to hide it from Sony anymore. They've already got a new system coming to market, or the Pro's going to be available in like a couple of months. What are you going to hide from them at this point?
Exactly. I mean, I think this doesn't matter at all. This is Microsoft trying to play a marketing game and be like, you guys are behind 43%. Well, look at those
teraflops. Oh, God.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the thing that would be the best thing to come out of this is if Sony was like, you know what? Microsoft, you said true 4K gaming on your Scorpio, live up to it. Yeah. It's not realistic on a console, all right? We're giving an enhanced 4K experience. We're doing it on the cheap for gamers. That's what they really want. You want true 4K gaming? Go ahead. Do SLI 21080s. You're not doing it for cheap, buddy.
Spend a fortune on dual Titans. You're not going to be able to do it. It's not going to happen.
And that's it for this week's Nerdy News Roundup. Meme of the Week will return next week when we're not just talking about Sony news. But until then, remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you don't want us to go the way of gaming mods for PlayStation.
I'm Paul Mooney.
And I'm Sam Chen.
Join us again next week because the last thing the world needed was another nerdy news show, but you tuned in anyways.